Imagine a world where you're sitting in a crowded room filled with laughter, conversation, and warmth, but you hear nothing. You feel nothing. Faces smile at you, words float in your direction, yet everything seems distant, distorted, muffled by an invisible wall. You reach out to touch someone to reassure yourself that you're actually here, but your hands move through shadows. Everything around you is real, but somehow you've become a ghost. Now think about a moment when you've been lost in your phone, scrolling endlessly through feeds filled with faces, reactions, lives unfolding, but felt just as intangible, just as alone. Could it be that we've built this world already? A world saturated with connection, but starving for intimacy? The more we scroll, the lonelier we become, not because of what we see, but because of how we see it. Doomscrolling offers a cruel paradox. It pretends to deliver closeness, community, and engagement, all while quietly eroding the foundations of genuine human relationship. It mimics connection while deepening emotional isolation, trapping us in loops of passive consumption, anxious comparison, and disconnected unease. But what if loneliness isn't about being alone? What if it's about being disconnected, truly disconnected from the presence of others, the depth of life around us, and the quiet yet profound sense of belonging we feel when we genuinely meet another soul? To explore this truth, we need the gentle wisdom of a philosopher who deeply understood what it meant to truly connect, Martin Buber. Born in Vienna in 1878, Buber spent his life asking one essential question: how can we genuinely relate to one another in a world increasingly obsessed with objects, control, and convenience? For Buber, the deepest loneliness comes from treating people, and even life itself, as things to use, observe, judge, or consume. He called this the I-it relationship, a cold distance where everything is a resource, a tool, or an object, but there is another way, the I-thou relationship. Here, we meet the world as something alive, sacred, and deeply present, an encounter where both parties see and are seen, fully human and fully real. And in his quiet, profound voice, Buber wrote, "All real living is meeting." The simple, powerful idea is our guide. To truly live, we must truly meet. But doomscrolling denies us this. Instead, it lures us into countless empty interactions, thousands of faces without meeting a single soul. So, if doomscrolling is the symptom, what's the cure? It's not about digital detoxing or forced abstinence. Instead, it's about rediscovering authentic connection with others, with our surroundings, and ultimately, with ourselves. But how do we bridge this gap from digital isolation to genuine presence? And what happens to us if we don't? Let's journey deeper. You wake up, and before your eyes fully open, your hand reaches instinctively for the glow of your phone. What pulls you toward that screen? Is it curiosity, habit, or something deeper? A quiet ache, a whisper of emptiness you're desperately trying to fill? Consider how effortlessly our technology slips into these vulnerable spaces in our lives, promising connection, yet subtly deepening our isolation. Our screens have become windows to endless lives we don't truly enter, faces we recognize but never truly see. Think about how quickly the morning fades into afternoon, each scroll burying you deeper in restless distraction. Hours pass by, but have you actually moved forward? Social media platforms aren't simply passive tools. They're carefully engineered to tap into our most fundamental psychological desires. Every refresh, every notification floods our brains with dopamine, a tiny spark of pleasure that promises fulfillment but quickly fades. It's the same mechanism that keeps gamblers hooked, that turns indulgence into addiction. Robert Sapolsky, the brilliant neuroscientist, once explained dopamine as a molecule of anticipation, not reward. The dopamine spike happens when you're about to receive pleasure, not when you actually experience it. The cruelest irony is that we scroll endlessly, not because we're satisfied, but precisely because we aren't. And the cycle continues, encouraged by algorithms designed not for your happiness, but for your prolonged attention. Your restless eyes skim across snippets of lives that seem brighter, richer, more meaningful than your own, heightening a subtle anxiety, a nagging sense of being left behind. You think you're connecting, but each digital encounter leaves you colder, emptier, and more uncertain. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time scrolling made you feel genuinely seen, understood, or whole? And how often do you return from these digital expeditions lonelier than when you left? This loneliness is not accidental. It's the direct result of our collective drift from genuine relationships into shallow transactions. Think of it like constantly sipping salt water, momentarily quenching your thirst while ultimately intensifying it. Our minds and hearts grow thirsty even while drowning in digital interaction. But Martin Buber wasn't alone in diagnosing this disconnection. Consider the words of Sherry Turkle, the renowned psychologist who wrote, "We expect more from technology and less from each other." Turkle understood how we've come to rely on screens to fill spaces that can only be genuinely filled through human warmth, presence, and vulnerability. Or think of Erich Fromm, who warned decades ago that our culture was shifting from authentic being toward compulsive having, accumulating friends, followers, likes, and impressions as if they were commodities rather than connections. Or perhaps you recognize something of yourself in Henry David Thoreau's haunting observation. Men have become the tools of their tools. We set out seeking connection and clarity, but instead, we've become passive consumers of data, mere viewers in our own lives. And what is the cost of living this way? It's not merely theoretical. The loneliness epidemic has real, measurable consequences: increased anxiety, depression, emotional exhaustion, and a nagging sense of meaninglessness. Studies reveal troubling spikes in loneliness among people who spend the most time online. The more connected we appear digitally, the less connected we feel emotionally. Behind those countless smiles, photos, and curated stories, there's a quiet sadness, a hidden yearning for genuine encounter that no screen can ever satisfy. And what about you? Personally, have you ever caught yourself mid-scroll feeling a quiet despair rising within you? A sense that something vital is slipping away, that your life is passing by in glimpses, in snapshots without substance? These reflections aren't meant to shame or to judge. They're invitations to awareness. To truly heal, you must first acknowledge what hurts. So, here is your gentle call to awakening. Notice how you feel after an hour spent scrolling. Notice how your body tightens, your breath shortens, your shoulders tense with silent anxiety. Notice how these habits shape your perception, how they quietly diminish your capacity for genuine presence. The cure begins in this noticing, this small but powerful act of awareness, because the first step toward reclaiming your life isn't about renouncing your phone. It's about recognizing how deeply you crave authentic encounter. Can you feel it? This subtle hunger for connection, raw, real, and infinitely human. Stay with this feeling. Hold on to it for just a moment, gently, without judgment. Because it's here, in this place of quiet discomfort and honest recognition, that your journey toward genuine connection can finally begin. But imagine, for a moment, something different. You're sitting across from someone you love. There's no phone between you, no buzzing, no alerts, no silent pull toward elsewhere, just the gentle cadence of breath, the subtle flicker of eye contact, the presence of two people really here. You aren't performing, you aren't comparing, you aren't curating your responses like lines in a play. You're simply being, and being is enough. Or maybe it's not even with another person. Maybe it's with a tree or a breeze or the sound of distant bird song as you walk without headphones for the first time in weeks. A flicker of awe returns. Life suddenly feels textured again, weighty, sacred, real. This is the alternative, not a detox, not an escape, but a return to the living world, to the felt body, to the kind of silence that doesn't scream to be filled. A life where you look into someone's eyes and don't think about what comes next. A life where your thumb isn't always twitching, where your soul isn't always searching, where presence becomes your default, not your reward. And no, it doesn't require deleting every app or moving into the woods. It starts smaller, quieter. Try this. When you wake up tomorrow, don't touch your phone for the first 15 minutes. Just notice your breath. Notice your thoughts. Feel the air on your skin. Later, when you reach for your device out of boredom, ask yourself, what am I actually craving right now? Is it entertainment or is it closeness, novelty, tenderness, rest? Find someone in your life, just one person, and give them your full attention for 5 minutes. No distractions, no multitasking. Let it be awkward. Let it be real. And once a day, put your phone down before you feel finished. Let your desire for more sit unresolved. Watch what rises in its place. These aren't hacks, they're invitations, habits of the soul that remind you you're still human underneath all the noise. Because here's the quiet truth. Every time you scroll past another life, another moment to another face, you aren't just observing. You're forgetting how to meet. You're forgetting the sacredness of encounter. And the longer we live like that, the harder it becomes to remember who we are. But all real living is meeting. Buber was right. So the next time your thumb hovers over that screen, pause, take a breath. Ask yourself, am I connecting or am I disappearing? Maybe the cure to your loneliness isn't hiding behind glass. Maybe it's been waiting patiently in the gaze of another. If this message found you, write in the comments, I saw their eyes, but no one was there. That way, I'll know you felt the silence underneath the noise, and maybe that you're ready to meet the world again. Share what you've been escaping or what you're finally ready to face. The space is for the unseen parts of you, for what flickers behind the scroll. The next step is waiting.